What's happening, people? Welcome back to Clown Questions, the show where there are no dumb questions. I'm your host, Matt K. Maurer, and I say the same dumb intro every time. And the one today is, my question is, why is everyone planting flags? I don't know why I'm being so weird in this intro. Maybe I'm nervous because of His Majesty, the King. We finally have a guest on, so you guys can tune back in. And it's the best one of them all, the most popular guest of all, the King. Going to be talking some NFL football with him. So who's down to clown?
That's a clown question, bro.
So to revisit the question that you might not have heard me ask is, why is everyone planting flags? Or why did everyone plant flags, I guess is the question. If you weren't following college football this weekend, we had 3 instances of flag planting and 1 instance of a pitchfork planting. So I don't know if he there's no way he was the first person to do it, but I think Baker Mayfield kind of made this famous in like 2017, I want to say. He's been in the league for a while, so this happened years and years back. So I don't know how that would be where the trend stemmed from, but yeah, as Oklahoma Sooner, he planted that Oklahoma flag right at midfield of Ohio State's field, kind of sticking it to him, because I think he might have transferred from Ohio State. Don't quote me on that, but everyone's planting flags now. Michigan started it. They had the 11 o'clock game. They had an awesome upset of Ohio State. Ryan Day just can't seem to beat Michigan. But yeah, basically someone on Michigan's defense, or it looked like a couple people had their hands on it, plant the flag at midfield. The Ohio State defenders came running after him, started a big brawl. Some people were saying that's the most fight Ohio State showed all game, was after the game when they're in this brawl. And yeah, it got ugly. It got so ugly to the point where there were some Michigan players who got maced. They got pepper sprayed. I guess the local law enforcement or the state troopers, there was a number of agencies there. I guess they thought pepper spraying was the best way to break up this brawl. But that's ridiculous. That's freaking abuse. Whoever did that should have their job reevaluated, because you don't need to pepper spray a player. Just stick your hand. Like, I know they're big, but like the fight will get broken up eventually. There's no need to mace anybody. But yeah, congrats on Michigan for that big win. Sorry about the pepper spray. Florida also did this against Florida State. I can see being pissed about this at Florida State, because you went 2-9. You had the worst year ever, culminating in a Florida team that hasn't been great. They've been playing great as of late. But they plant the flag in here. It's like, really, Florida? You have a subpar to decent year, and we have the worst year of our maybe our existence as Florida State Seminoles, and you're gonna plant the flag there. Another one was NC State. They planted a flag after they beat UNC. That one was funny. If you can find the video, there's a UNC player took that NC State flag and just chucked it. Get out of here. Stop disrespecting my logo like that. And then this one might have been the coolest. Arizona State beat rival Arizona, and one of their D linemen took a pitchfork and put a pitchfork so not a flag plant, but a pitchfork plant at midfield. So I love it. Rivalry week in college. There's nothing like it. I've been on record saying I do enjoy the NFL more, but you just don't get stuff like this in the NFL. I don't care how bitter the rivalry is. You're not really going to get a whole lot of flag planting at all. I would love to see in the NFL, though. Whoever would do it in the NFL, I don't think anyone in the NFL would do it, because they know they might see that team next year and they don't want to have bulletin board material. But yeah, why is everyone planting flags? I guess I didn't answer the question. I don't know. I guess it's fun. That's probably why. Let's move on. Keep talking some football, some NFL football. My next question for the NFL is Patrick Mahomes a witch? I think he is. I think there's some dark black magic, deal with the devil going on here. Mahomes is a witch. I've seen enough. He played fine, not good, not bad, just whatever against the Raiders. And the Raiders had a damn chance to beat them on Black Friday until their center inadvertently snapped the ball, hit Aiden O'Connell because he didn't even know it was coming, and the Chiefs picked up the fumble. Just disgusting stuff here. That play, that's one of the plays that has made me consider, like, maybe the NFL is rigged. Because how did the Chiefs win like that? I don't know what's worse, the Bears loss where they forgot to call a timeout, or that one. Probably the Bears, because you had the timeout to prevent it. But yeah, just a freak accident from the Raiders. The Chiefs keep winning. And this is where I really think Mahomes is a witch. The Chiefs have won 14 straight one-possession games. That is the longest streak in NFL history. And if you go back in a lot of those wins, there's a lot of people who can pinpoint, like, the refs might have been helping him out. I don't know if it's Chiefs derangement syndrome, if I just hate them that much, so I'll find any way to, call them out on their black magic or their dark magic, whatever it is. But, yeah, I don't know how to stop it. Hopefully Josh Allen can take care of it in the playoffs, because we all know if they make it to the Super Bowl game, maybe the Lions could beat them, but I don't know. I don't like it, and I don't like the Bears, but I do this year. They've been very fun to watch, and my question for them, for y'all really, is, are the Bears innovators? They are innovating. They finally fired their head coach, Matt Eberflus. That's the first time in franchise history they've fired a coach mid-season, so they're innovating as a franchise. But no, the reason they're innovators, I do think they're innovators, is because they keep inventing new ways to lose. How do the Bears keep finding new ways to lose? We had, obviously, the Hail Mary. They had a comeback and lost in overtime to Minnesota Vikings, and my Green Bay Packers beat them on a blocked field goal, but none of them were as ugly as this past Thanksgiving game, where there was 30 seconds left. Caleb Williams, all you got to do is get a quick playoff, get in field goal range, or call a timeout and then do that. Neither of those were done, so kind of on Caleb Williams for not calling the timeout, but it's a rookie quarterback, so that's on the head coach to be like, hey man, I know you're a rookie, so I'll call a timeout here. We'll sort this out. I know it's a close game. We're down 3. We got a shot here. We just need you to bring it back. We need a little calm here. Matt Eberflus was not calm at all. He just looked, I don't even know how to describe his face. Just go watch that play and look at Eberflus's face. Just the most bewildered look of all time. But yeah, congratulations to all Bears fans on firing Matt Eberflus. Problem solved. Bears are back. I really hope they don't get Bill Belichick or Mike Vrabel, or Kyle Shanahan is a name that the King mentioned, but I'll let him get into that when we talk some Bears football. Let's talk some baseball. Why am I talking baseball? I don't know, but I feel like there was some news I should go over. So what's going on in baseball? A better question would probably be, does anybody care? I don't think many of you care. I don't know. I get 30 subscribers. I bet maybe one of them's a baseball fan, maybe 2. But I'll go through it anyways. Brandon Crawford retired. I was like, oh, Brandon Crawford, I kind of remember him. Was he good? I looked up his stats. He was pretty damn good. 3-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, and a 4-time Gold Glover award winner, in addition to winning the Silver Slugger award in 2015. Silver Slugger, that's best batting average, right? But yeah, happy trails, Brandon Crawford. You're a world champion. He's not a Hall of Famer, but 4 Gold Gloves is damn impressive. He won 3 straight from 2015 to 2017. So, yeah, happy trails, Brandon Crawford. In other baseball news, we have the Dodgers, of course, making the biggest splash thus far in free agency, which was Blake Snell, the old Padres pitcher. They signed him to a 5-year, $182 million deal. So the rich get richer. I'm not talking about Blake Snell. I don't know how rich he was before, but the Dodgers are the richest team in baseball. Have the best pitcher in baseball coming back from Tommy John surgery this year, and now they got Blake Snell, who's up there for best aces in the league. I don't know who their ace will be. It'll be between Shoto Amanag. No, that's the Cubs guy. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani, and Blake Snell. So they're gonna duke it out. But yeah, Dodgers are still a juggernaut. They could definitely win another World Series next year. And then last baseball bit of news is the Red Sox have signed Aroldis Chapman to a 1-year, $10 million deal. I feel like Aroldis Chapman's on a different team every year, but he's declined somewhat. But I don't know. There's always a team out there that's like, wait, you're a closer and you can throw 102. Yeah, we'll give you a shot. So yeah, I like Aroldis Chapman. Good signing for the Red Sox there. But yeah, none of that news would be as big as where's Juan Soto going to go? I don't know. I've heard the bidding for Juan Soto is somewhere in the range of $600 million. If he goes to the Dodgers, they should disband the league because the outcome is decided if they somehow get Soto in addition to Freeman, Shohei, Mookie, etc. Oh my goodness, the Dodgers are a terrifying team. What else happened? That's my last question here. Just a lot of news to go through. Paul Millsap retires. Nuggets legend. I don't know if legend's pushing it, but happy trails, Paul Millsap. I didn't pull out your stats like Brandon Crawford. Sorry, but happy trails. The Lions have signed Quan Alexander and Jamal Adams. Those are big signings. Many might say, and I wouldn't say this, but many might say Quan and Jamal are both washed. But it doesn't matter because the Lions' defense is that banged up. Even if they are washed, they're going to need them. They're going to need them when they're playing my Packers and Jordan Love here soon. In other football news, Stanford has hired Andrew Luck as their football GM. So basically, the Colts' legendary quarterback, Andrew Luck. Man, what a career would he have had if he didn't retire early. But yeah, he'll be in charge of everything from the recruiting to the coaching search, this and that. They put a Stanford grad, a smart man, who had one of the greatest 4-5 year careers of any quarterback ever. Yeah, so good for Stanford. They might be back. You know who's not back, though? UConn. UConn lost to Dayton. That was their third loss in a row. I think they've won one since then. But I'm feeling pretty good about my pick last week where I said the dynasty is over. So, yeah, UConn loses again. I'm excited for, potentially March Madness where there's a team in the championship that's not blowing out every team by 10. I'd like a more entertaining game than that. But, yeah, good luck, Huskies. Two other pieces of news. Deontay Johnson was suspended 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team. This is the same suspension I think that was given out to Romeo Doubs earlier in the season. I think Doubs was probably an unexcused absence, but they never really went into it. I feel like conduct detrimental to the team is kind of a blanket statement. It could encapsulate a lot of things. I feel like usually they use that term because they don't want to go into, why did we suspend our own player? But the GM just flat out stated exactly what the conduct that was detrimental to the team was. The GM of the Ravens is stating that Deontay Johnson refused to enter Sunday's game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Makes sense why you get suspended. Hey, if you don't want to play, I'm not going to let you play, and we're going to suspend you without pay. Damn, am I rhyming like Kendrick Lamar up in here? But yeah, that's a tough look for Deontay, especially in a game they could have used him against the Eagles where they couldn't get much going on offense. They could have definitely used another receiving threat there, but he said he didn't want to go in. Maybe, I don't know, obviously, much about the situation at all, as most people don't know much, but could it be a Antonio Brown situation where that famous game where he ran off the field shirtless? He was claiming before he did that Bruce Arians was like forcing him to play through an injury. I really doubt John Harbaugh would do that, but who knows? But yeah, it sounds like Deontay Johnson doesn't really want to play football that much. Someone else who doesn't want to play football much and that's such a horrible segue. But Trevor Lawrence, he was just placed on IR, likely out for the year. I don't know why it's likely. They should just rule him out for the rest of the year. You're not gonna don't pay your $200 million quarterback. I don't know how much he's making, but yeah, no reason for him to play in a year where you're tanking at this point when you have no shot at the playoffs. But yeah, Lawrence is likely out for the year because of a concussion he sustained in the Jaguars-Texans game this past Sunday. And that's why this week's first year interruption is going to be with Houston Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans. So Lawrence left the game on a scary hit. He left the game on a stretcher, I believe, after a brutal concussion he suffered after getting hit by Texans linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair. Azeez Al-Shaair has been suspended 3 games for this hit. I wasn't quite sure if I thought it was dirty or not. I do put the clip in this first year interruption, so you can be the judge of it yourself if you hop on the YouTube to watch that. But clearly the NFL thought it was dirty if they're going to suspend him 3 games. But what was interesting is what his head coach DeMeco Ryans had to say about all of this, because kind of seems like he's defending the hit a little bit. But I'll let DeMeco talk. So here's first interruption with DeMeco Ryans.
We stand behind Azeez and everything, that came from that. Of course, he unfortunately hit on the quarterback. But it's twofold, right? I mean, a lot of the quarterbacks in this day and age, they try to take advantage of the rule where they slide late and they try to get an extra yard. And you're a defender, a lot of onus is on the defender, right? Whether it's on the sideline or where it's on the quarterback, you don't know what a guy's thinking. You don't know if a guy's standing up and he's continuing to run. You don't know. And then you get a late slide and you hit the guy. Unfortunate that Trevor got hurt. Hope Trevor is okay, but it's also, if we're sliding, we have to get down. If we're getting out of bounds, we get out of bounds, and that rule is there to protect the quarterbacks, and we want our quarterbacks to be safe in the league, so we just have to be safe. If we're sliding, make sure we're keeping our heads down. So, and the entire thing is, Azeez hits the guy, but their sideline overreacts, and it turns into a melee. It wasn't our guys, it's their team overreacted, pushed our guy, dragging our guy to the sideline. So that's uncalled for on that side. We have to be better on the sidelines as well with both teams.
Yeah, I definitely disagree with DeMeco Ryans on a few points here. Definitely on the point that they overreacted. It's I don't know about that. Any hit on a quarterback that appears dirty, the other team is going to retaliate. They're going to stick up for their guy. If a Jaguars player had done that to CJ Stroud, the Texans would have reacted the exact same way, being like, what the hell, man? He was sliding. But that's kind of the tough part about this, is whether or not it's a dirty hit. DeMeco made the point that, yeah, some quarterbacks slide late. So it's how can the defender, stop in midair from their hit? If you look at the play, though, he begins his slide before the first down marker. Al-Shaair hits him after the first down marker. Personally, I still don't know. My uncle Paul, shout out Master P. He kind of told me, he's like, yeah, you should be, more staunch in your takes. I don't know if staunch. He definitely didn't use the word staunch, but he's like, don't be so wishy-washy on your takes. You make an opinion here. And I get what he's saying there, because wishy-washy. It's what am I doing here? But I'm definitely wishy-washy on this hit. I can see how people can view it as dirty, but at the same time, I don't know. Did he go for the tackle as he was sliding? Did he know he was sliding when he had already launched for the tackle? It's tough to say. It's kind of really subjective here. But yeah, I don't know if it's illegal yet, but this hit made me realize fake slides should definitely be illegal. They're going to lead to either injuries, or it's just unfair for the defender because you can't hit him if you think he's going to slide. So I don't know if they're illegal yet, but yeah, tough look for Azeez Al-Shaair getting suspended 3 games. I think the 3-game suspension could have been due to other hits. People have kind of made a little compilation. There's a video of Azeez with his hand on Tom Brady's neck. There's another one from this year. Tony Pollard of the Tennessee Titans basically hops out of bounds, and Shire comes flying, spears him in the back, helmet to his spine. That one was definitely dirty. I'm not even gonna lie. That one I'm positive was a dirty hit. So this is probably more sending a message to Al Shire that they're not thrilled with the way he's playing here. But yeah, I don't fault DeMeco Ryans for really anything he said. Don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand he's gonna stick up for his guy. Let's get to our interview. We have royalty on the show today. It is the King, aka Hercules, aka Dan. Yeah, awesome interview with him. Loved every second. I think you will too. We're gonna talk some NFL, maybe sprinkle in a little Milwaukee Bucks. So here he is, the King. All right, now pulling up to the pod is a very special guest, a reoccurring guest, the man, the myth, the legend, the King. Thank you so much for joining me again, King. Appreciate it.
Matthew, it's my pleasure, my honor to be back on with you. Thank you for having me. And I just have to show you off this shirt that I got from my wife.
Yeah,
If
the
you
King.
can see, it is the King, and I love
If you're
this
on
shirt.
Spotify, you got to go to YouTube and look at his new shirt. It's awesome.
Oh yeah,
gotta
I
let
think
him know who's the royalty.
absolutely. This is a royal house, and I'm thinking of putting out a whole new line of slippers, sweatshirts, the whole bit. So
Yeah,
look for that in the future.
are those two giant king set chess pieces I see behind you? Two kings behind you?
There are. You'll see the chess pieces. I also have my Green Bay Packer ownership. I should
Oh,
probably
okay.
bring
Is that
that
one?
up, as we may have some talk about that later.
How many shares do we have? Just one?
I have one share, but they call me about major decisions. So when you ask me about the pack, you're getting it right from the insider's mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we can get into the Packers a little bit later, but I wanted to ask you about your and he's got the king too.
Gotta have that.
The decor is improving.
It
It's
is.
awesome.
My
Got
fans demand it, Matthew, and the dude abides.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, it's still the most viewed episode ever is the Kings Kentucky Derby preview.
Well, that is great. We'll have to do that again the first weekend in May.
Um,
What are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little NFL, obviously. But first, I wanted to ask, how are you feeling about your fantasy football prospects with the playoffs? Playoffs start next week, I believe. It looks like you and John Platzer clinched a spot already. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good about it. But I must confess, with my busy schedule, and you know how busy I am. I've got everybody from Shefty to D Watts. I've got Luke Maurer calling me for information on NBA, different people. So I leave John with that, and he's done a splendid job. We've been in the Super Bowl, albeit losing efforts the last 2 years, and this year we're headed back to the playoffs. John is doing admirably, and I've got to give him another shout out. The last time we got together, and I can't let this go by, you asked us to make our Super Bowl predictions. And it was early in the season, but it's a good exercise. And I was very taken with the teams that got off to the good start. I picked Kansas City, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with Minnesota's defense and really how Darnold was playing. And Kansas City, I just thought, the good start. And I thought if they were any of the top two seeds, they'd be tough to beat. John, in the meantime, went out on a limb with both picks. He went with an all Pennsylvania Super Bowl selection. The Philadelphia Eagles, who, when we talk about this later, I think is the most talented team. And I thought that at the time.
Yeah.
I saw them play the Packers, but I didn't trust the coach. And they had a little bit of injury. They had some injuries. And their defense was nothing like it's playing like now. And he also picked the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I thought was going out on the thinnest of limbs.
Yeah,
and
that was pre-Russell Wilson, right?
That was pre-Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh my God, what an asinine pick. And I've doubted Tomlin before. This is the year I do it no more. He is just a remarkable coach. He's got that team going, but we'll talk about that later. But shout out to John on those two picks because they look a lot stronger than my two. I'll stick with Kansas City. I still don't. If they get one of the two seeds, that first game is going to be next to impossible. They'll be favored at home in their first game, and that
Yeah.
gets you to the championship. And that place is a tough place to win. It's a tough crowd. But
No
anyway,
kidding.
let's get on with it.
Yeah, Arrowhead. Well, speaking of John, I wanted to you've kind of had this in the works with me for a couple weeks. I'm sorry if I've been blowing you off a little bit, but I wanted you to explain this roundtable idea you have. You want to get John together and I forget his name, one of your nephews. You want to do a big roundtable, right?
I do, and the other one is a coworker, a former coworker when I was at the NFL desk, and that's Dylan Watska, and he's very knowledgeable on football. You talk about fantasy and other things. This man knows his stuff, and he is very open to coming on. He always brings up good points. And the other thing is with that roundtable, this is a man who's an expert on college basketball, very good on the pros too.
Okay.
College basketball, which I must confess, I have no knowledge. I don't follow. I wait till the tournament and I love it then, but he is all over it. So anyway, a discussion, we can get into a number of things, but D Watts is my go-to for a lot of inside information. I think it'd be a good thing. John has proven to really be up and above his rookie status. He is really moving into the upper echelon of the pundits. So let's get on with it, and hopefully we can put that together.
Yeah. No. So, well, the part I kind of need help with, because I've struggled with this in the past where I have two guests. Usually I'll just come up with a list of questions, but like I need help. How do I mediate this? Because like when I had you and John on, I kind of just flip-flopped questions, but then it'd be like, wait, you didn't ask John about Tua. Why did you only ask me? So how do I like mediate this if there's gonna be what? It'll be three people plus me, so it'll be a round table of four. How do you I don't know. I'm not Ernie Johnson. I don't know how to do it.
I will tell you, Matthew, there's more than enough opinions between the three of us where use the word roundtable, almost as if you're dealing cards. Start with one and go around. Pass the deal the next time.
Yeah.
If Dylan starts, the next time John starts and go, but each guy gets his shot. We have more than enough to say. I know I can fill 4 spots. I could be the whole table and give 4 different opinions. I'm so energetic and I've got so many damn opinions. Ask my wife. She's on the extreme other side of the house because she's sick of hearing them. That's why we have a big house.
Okay.
Anyway.
I like that. So kind of just you ask the first question, but then the follow-up questions, you bring in the other people, get everyone on
Absolutely.
the same topic.
Everybody deserves a shot at each of the questions. And I love having them on tape because when somebody's wrong, I'm going to let them know it the next time. I'm going to drill them. And if I make a mistake, well, we can edit that out. But
yeah. No, I like it. We'll have to do it. We'll have to make a group chat and get that all scheduled. Coming weeks here, we'll get that round table together.
Absolutely.
But while we got just here, you wanted to do the round table. I said no. I want just you. You got enough for all of us to hear here. So let's talk some NFL. Probably biggest news in the past week is the Bears fired Matt Eberflus after that disaster of a finish on Thanksgiving versus the Lions. So I guess my question to you about it would be, who do you think the Bears should hire? Who should they try to go out and get and replace Eberflus this offseason?
Not that you have to strip it down and you've got to go on top. I hearken back to when the New York Football Giants, and they went through terrible years, the 60s and 70s, the mid to late 60s. They were good in the early 60s. And then the 70s. And, this was a team I had to watch at home. And they got into the 80s and they went there. The commissioner, Pete Rozelle, at that time, went to Wellington Mara, the owner of the Giants. And because New York, you had to remember, that was a huge franchise. Mm-hmm. And the NFL wasn't what it was today. It was behind baseball. And you had to have a strong presence in New York. And the Jets were coming in. Although they had won the Super Bowl, they were struggling, but he wanted the New York franchises to do well. And he told Mara, there are people you can seek out. I'm going to give you a list of them. And these are guys that know the NFL and how to build a winner.
Mm-hmm.
He went, and out of those people he interviewed, he hired a general manager named George Young. George Young is the guy that picked Parcells. He's the guy that put that staff and that infrastructure together, and they never look back. And that has been a solid, until probably the last 10 years, since their last Super Bowl, just an extremely solid franchise.
Right.
When we did it with Ron Wolf. We got a guy to overhaul. We just said, look, we need a guy that knows what he's doing, not picking these coaches and Bart Starr and some of these guys, Forrest Gregg, that old-time Packers. You need a football guy to come in, and that's what Ron Wolf did. And he put Holmgren in, a guy that was innovative and smart and energetic. He made great selections. He built the line, got the quarterback, obviously, made the deal for him. They need one man on top of it. And that's to get that organization, and they got to start there. I think you sweep it out. That might not happen. It looks like they're going to be, they're looking to keep the same coach. The general manager, I think, is going to survive. And there's something to be said for keeping, consistency.
You think Poles should be out too?
I think they should sweep it. Now, Poles may survive, and this new coach, this interim coach, may survive. I would take them all out. And just start afresh. You need a guy on top. And you heard what the latest rumor is going around, that they should trade to San Francisco and get San Francisco's Shanahan, the coach.
Yeah, trade.
Which can be done.
Trade. Yeah.
It'd be a fresh start for him. He's going through some tough times. I thought that was interesting. I'd rather not see it in our division. We've got enough. Williams looked good last couple of games. So we've got talent in our division. We haven't even seen the new Viking quarterback. So,
Well, I don't think either of us want the Bears to succeed. But if you were like a Bears fan, who would you want? You want them to go out and trade for Shanahan? Anyone on the open market you'd want?
Shanahan could turn this guy around, could make use of all the weapons. That's what he's best at. If he was an offensive coordinator, it'd be fine too. But you want him as coach. He's got the experience. That's who I get.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going anywhere. I mean, I think these are just, people rattling, looking for, things to put out there.
Sure.
But he would be number one. Otherwise, obviously the guy from Detroit would be that's where everybody's going to be after
Ben Johnson.
But I don't know how good a head coach he's going to be. He's a great offensive coordinator, and you don't know, and he could be a great coach. He could, you've seen that time and time again. The next flavor of the month comes in, and as a coach, they lack. It's not leadership is look at the Jets coach. He's a great defensive guy, and more of a player's coach. And there are specialties. They're guys you got to look at. Well, Shanahan has a proven record. With the 49ers, and with talent, without talent, he's done well. Anyway, he'd be the guy I'd look at. Further down the line, there've got to be guys, but we made the right call with LaFleur when we did that. When we made our selection there, ousting McCarthy, and LaFleur is really coming into his own. I think when Rodgers left, and he had to deal with him, he didn't have all that authority, and he is really coming to his own. He's grown in the position.
Yeah,
I guess a better way of saying it.
Sure.
I really like his leadership, and I'm glad he's here. I hope he's here a long time to come.
Sure. But so to go back to it, let's say the 49ers don't trade Shanahan. Do you go out? Do you get a Mike Vrabel? Do you get a Bill Belichick? Is that realistic?
I wouldn't do Belichick. Absolutely not. He's
really
older. No, I wouldn't. And he is not proven to be a guy that turns a franchise around. You've seen his draft picks when Brady was gone. Great defensive mind, judge of talent, not necessarily great. Not necessarily bad, but nothing special. And a lot of busted stuff when he was making the calls over there in New England, especially at the end of his tenure. No, not him. And Vrabel, yes, I would consider. I consider him a solid coach, great track record with 10. I thought he did a great job with a marginal to good quarterback,
Mhm.
Tannehill.
Yeah.
And I thought, turned that team into, gave them a, you hear people saying, giving them a profile. What's the term they say? Gave that team I can't think of the word.
What's the
Yeah,
word?
you know what I'm thinking about. But anyway, I thought he was good. Younger guys are good. If they come from a good coaching tree where they're being innovative, that is good. But you've got to seek out that leadership. A lot of times they're guys that come from like families of coaches or groups of coaches, and they know the life and they know what's involved, and they've dealt with players before. Guys coming in where they haven't jumped into that head coaching position before, it's a little more of a risk. But
Sure.
I the first, if not Shanahan, I know that's a reach. I would go. I'd look around at the talent. The guy from Detroit, I think, he's number one for a lot of teams. He's going to
Mhm.
command a big price.
Yeah.
Vrabel, you can't go wrong. There'll be a number of candidates, but don't be afraid to look. Like LaFleur wasn't a name that jumped out, and
Yeah.
that's where the Packers were good. They threw a wide net out, and they got somebody that clicked with them right away. And that's you need
Yeah.
that too, but you need a little bit of gravitas as well.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the Bears make the wrong decision here and hire another bad coach. But let's move on. Enough on the Bears. Let's talk about the Chiefs. I think they're tied with the Lions for best record in the league. So I'm gonna phrase the question this way, and we can debate whether or not it's luck. But my question was gonna be, will the Chiefs' luck run out? And is it even luck? Because I feel like there's been a few lucky wins in there.
There have been a number of lucky wins, two
Yeah.
or three of them, two for sure. And the Raider game was just atrocious. That
Yeah.
blunder was just one of the worst I've ever seen. And but I will tell you this: if they can get even to the number 2 seed, they are dangerous. Yeah, there is no team that's going into Kansas City as a favorite in the first game. And
Mhm.
I'll if they're the number 1 seed, they're lethal because they're getting to a second game, and at home they're going to be close to a favorite. Maybe they're a couple point underdog, but I would not bet against Mahomes or anybody in that building. That's a
Yeah.
tough place to play in winter months, and that crowd is raucous and great, and they play tough there. So I still see them as with a co-favorite, obviously, with Buffalo. But I will tell you this: here's why they're susceptible. They've got a tougher schedule than Buffalo the next few weeks
Mhm.
coming up, and more than that, the whole AFC. There's no super teams. I think
Sure.
when I say super teams, a relative term. I think in the NFC there are 2 super teams, and that's Detroit, who's very injured right now, and Philly, who is on
Tear.
they're on a rocket ride, and that defense is coming around, and they have the most talent, in my opinion, on
Mhm.
offense. If Jalen Hurts is playing well, that team's unbeatable in my mind, because
Wow.
he's got weapons. He makes some mistakes. You got to try and take him. Almost Barkley is kind of a guy that pounds you, and you want to use him in the fourth quarter a lot because teams are getting weary. But I mean, they've got so many options. Goddard, the 2
Yeah.
receivers, once they get Devontae Smith back, they have the toughest guy for getting a ball when a ball's in the air. And then what's his name, Brown. I just see them as so talented. The line's been great. They've got 2 All-Pro guys on that offensive line. The defense is becoming, and the thing that makes me cry with that team, Matthew, they got Cooper DeJean, the guy we
Yeah.
should have got. Oh,
Yeah.
that second corner. I trust in Ted, but his first round picks, I wish I was there side by side with him. But back to
Yeah.
Kansas City. Yes, I got a feeling they're going to lose another game, possibly 3. I would say 2. And they got to hope that they still hold the edge because Buffalo, remember, beat them.
Mhm.
They got to hope for a Bills loss. I don't know if that's going to happen, but
Mm.
I want to just along the lines on that. If it's not the Packers this year, if it's not the Packers, my favorite player in football is Josh Allen. I love him.
Yeah.
He's a horse.
Yeah.
I will tell you that I have my sister and her husband. Her husband's from Buffalo. The Kennedy family and their 3 kids. They are huge Buffalo fans. I have so many friends from Buffalo that I've met through other friends from college and otherwise. My good friend, I call him the other Kennedy, Paul Kennedy, who's down in Milwaukee. Paul's been a lifelong Buffalo fan back when they were terrible, and he's followed them. And I am so rooting for some of these people, the Connolly family out in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Shout out to these people. And know when you see this podcast that I am rooting for you if the Packers are not there. Otherwise, we're going to you won't hear from me if they play each other. And if Packers happen to lose, I wouldn't talk to any of you for a year. But I really am rooting for Buffalo, but I've got to tell you in my heart, there are some question marks I have with that team. A little bit on defense. I saw it exposed when Baltimore played them.
Yeah.
But they've been doing an amazing job, well coached. I'm shocked that they're doing it with these receivers. Every week there's a new receiver or a name I haven't heard of.
Yeah.
They got like 6 or 7 guys I haven't heard of on offense that are all of a sudden in there. They've got a running game. And Josh Allen I love him. He's a horse. He takes on linebackers. He never falls down. He is just, I love the man. Just one of my favorite athletes. And so I'm hoping for good things for them.
MVP, right?
I think I would vote for him MVP. Lamar Jackson, just by what he does for their team, is got to be right there too. But
Saquon's got to be in there, right?
I can't put any running back. I mean,
what if he gets 2,000? If he gets 2,000,
offensive player of the year. That's got to be separate.
What if he breaks Eric Dickerson's record? Then
you gotta
give it to him. Then
no.
You were just talking here. You were just sitting talking here about how you think Philly's one of the best teams.
And that is exactly why he has so much talent in that team. Remember last year when he was with the Giants? He's wandering around like a lost lamb. You put him on a team where defenses have to dedicate resources to the receivers, the tight end. They've got to wonder about the quarterback, who you got to keep in the pocket. You got to have a spy for him. And then worry about another guy. Barkley gets routine maintenance on him, and he can run through routine maintenance. Other teams would game plan around him when he's with the Giants. Now he's an afterthought, not an afterthought, but he's just one of 6 weapons.
Right.
No,
so Josh Allen. Josh Allen's your pick for MVP.
Josh Allen carries that team on his back.
Are you sticking with your Vikings versus Chiefs Super Bowl matchup?
All right, I'm a little lighter on the Vikings.
I know you like John's pick here too.
And John also had a comment when I made it. He didn't trust Darnold. And in my back of my mind, I said, I'm watching.
I felt the same way. We didn't believe in him.
Don't sell him.
I'm still doubting him.
He can make the big throws. He's got an arm, and he's not afraid. He's not afraid to make mistakes, and you got to be like that. If you switched him with Jared Goff, there'd be no difference. And
I like that take. I like that take a lot.
I would take him over Goff. Goff sits back
you take him over Goff.
I would. And
interesting.
If they were on the different teams, now Goff is gonna. He has a chance. He's but he's third or fourth choice to win the MVP. But I will tell you this: that Goff has got it nice. That running game is brutal. Penei Sewell blows out the entire line. They've got all pros in their line. When you have that, your quarterback has a lot of time to throw, and he sits back there, and they're getting more and more injured. And I'm going to tell you, this is the time. If the Packers are going to tell us a lot this weekend or this Thursday, because when they play them, they're catching them at the right time right now. Even though it's at Detroit, this is the right time. Even though Packers have a couple of injuries, this will tell us who the Packers are. First, not just winning teams. They've beaten Arizona, and they've beaten a couple of teams that have winning records, but not classy. The 3 classy teams they played, they've lost to. Minnesota, obviously Detroit, and what's the third?
The Eagles we lost to.
And the Eagles early in the season.
Yeah.
But so this will tell us a lot, and I think that they're ripe for the picking.
I want to get to the Packers in a second, but I'll give you a chance. Do you want to stick with Minnesota, Kansas City, or I can give you an opportunity to change the pick here if you want.
I will tell you in the AFC, I would tell you I think I would change that to Buffalo because I think KC's going to get knocked off, and I think Buffalo may run the table
Yeah,
and then get home field. And they've
sure.
proven they can take. They're not. Kansas City is no longer their big, Goliath that they have to take down. They know they can beat them. This is not
But
the same
not they
KC
haven't beat
team.
them in the playoffs yet.
That's
But
true.
they beat them in the regular season.
That regular season win was huge.
Yeah.
I think it'll take a lot of that, the monkey off of Allen's back, and I think they'll be ready for him this time.
Sure.
And Orchard Park in January is going to be a tough place to play if the Chiefs even get there. I think Buffalo is going to be a lock to win the first game, or pretty close to, and then they'll be in the championship. So
sure.
KC's got a lot of pressure to win these games.
Okay, so we'll
So
change.
I would say Buffalo. I would
Sure.
there if I had to, but I picked Kansas City, so I'll stick there.
You'll stick
other
with
side of
Kansas City Vikings?
The other no.
No,
I
we're
would
gonna change
say
up the
Philly.
Vikings a little.
I would
Philly,
say
sure.
I would say KC Philly, a repeat from 2 years ago.
Oh,
Only
okay.
because I picked KC. I think the Bills are probably a better bet, but I'll stick with KC and Philly.
Sure. I like it. A little rematch. Hopefully a shootout like that last one was, and hopefully it doesn't end. Great game. I hope it's not as anticlimactic
ended so
though.
crappy.
Yeah, ends on a pass interference call. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But so we were just talking about a lot of good teams. I wanted to ask you about some bad teams here. Let's Cowboys and 49ers not looking great this year. Let's start with the Cowboys. Do you think Jerry Jones is the problem in Dallas?
Yes, I do.
You do.
And
Okay.
Matt, getting back to what we spoke about a couple of minutes ago, you got to start at the top. He has done a great job marketing that team, which is what he's good at. That stadium, I went down there for the Super Bowl. The food was great. I mean, it's an amazing place, and you find yourself watching the Jumbotron more than you see the game. It's so nice. But just a wonderful, an amazing place, and he makes so much money that with the team. I think they're valued as the highest franchise in sports. It doesn't surprise me. But get out of the rest of it. Get a czar in there, CZAR czar, not czar. And he needs to have control. And that's his, it's a toy from him. And I'm not knocking him. I mean, he bought the team. He can do what he wants. That's America. But that team will get no better till you get somebody in there that knows what he's doing. Back to that conversation that Wellington Mara had years ago. These are guys that know what's going on. And I'll get to an example of that. What was the other team you asked me about? I'm sorry.
The 49ers. I was going to ask you that after we ripped Jerry Jones a new one here.
49ers are fine. I mean, they've got a lot of salaries. They were built to win last year and even this year.
That was going to be my question. Are the 49ers dead? Are they dead here?
They've got they not dead.
The
they have people that know what they're doing. They have a good organization. John Lynch and all those they've got a great coach. You just can't say, hey, this is terrible. You got some people, mouthing off now with Deebo Samuel, and that'll happen with good teams, good athletes. When things go bad, you're gonna have to clear a couple of guys out. They signed Brandon Ayuk to this big contract. He got hurt.
But I mean, I guess I meant as far as this year, are they dead? I know they'll probably be good.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, they are. Oh, they're dead this year.
This season. You don't think Isaac? You don't think the former Wisconsin Badger Isaac Guerrero can lead that offense?
Resurrect that running game? No, he can't. He may do okay. He may have a 100-yard game here or there. But that's all meaningless. Their team is. They do best to get in some rookies, a lot of rookies, let them play, let them get experience. They're going to have to dump some people. Maybe Fred Warner, who's hurt, and some guys that have big contracts. They're going to have to make hard decisions. But they're an organization that'll do it. But they're dead this year. They're dead in the water.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the NFC West standing so I get this correct. So yeah, we got a log jam in the NFC West right now. So who do you like in that division? We have basically 2 games separating the 4 teams. So it's
I think Arizona
anyone's
has
division,
the most talent out of the 2 that I think are remaining, Seattle and Arizona. I think the Rams have too much to overcome. They could do it. They'd be a dangerous team if they got in the playoffs. The other 2 I don't fear. And I'm kind of hoping it's one of the other 2 because I think the Packers can beat both of those. The Rams, even though they beat them early this year, that was without some of their stars. And the Rams, Matthew Stafford can beat anyone. I mean, he could come in and knock Detroit off on the right day. He almost did it last year.
Yeah.
If you'll recall in the playoffs, had he got that pass interference call, they would have probably done it. I just think they have too far to go. I'm going to pick Seattle because I like how they're gamers on that team a little bit more than Arizona. That's a toss up. I'll say Seattle there.
Okay, I like it. All right, well, let's go from that convoluted division to the best division in football, I think, pretty definitively here. So let's get to the Packers. Are the Packers the greatest third place team of all time?
We'll find out on Thursday because I don't know how. I really don't, Matt, know how good they are. When you win games, Bill Parcells used to have that famous line. He said, "You are what your record says you are," and I really love the wins that they have this year. And from following the team over the last 10 years, they'd have losses on like some of the wins where they're the ones making the big play, the other team's making the mistakes. And I really like that. Now they had to clean some things up. And last game, they did not have the penalties, and they're starting to clean a little bit of that up. The only thing that bothers me about the Packers is they have no pass rush, and that is going to come in to bite you and make winning games in the playoffs like a mountain, because you've got to play so great in other facets, and you're playing top teams, and there's no room for error when you can't get on the quarterback. You can make a guy look like Johnny Unitas back there. Look at Goff. I mean, Goff at certain points in his life was not a great quarterback. Now he's come around and he's really tough and he's good. He's a capable.
He made it to a Super Bowl, right?
The word I would use for him, I would say, yes, he had taken the Rams, and that was a great defense. And the most boring Super Bowl I ever saw. But
that's true. That was probably more of Aaron Donald got him to the Super Bowl.
Yes, that defense was remarkable. They shut down Brady. I mean, and they
the ugly game that was.
Oh God, but he's a decent, capable to decent would be my description, and he's like a world beater this year because they can run the football and they can protect the quarterback. He sits back there, he can have lunch, make a few phone calls, and then throw some passes. No, the guy's got all day. It's ridiculous. If Jordan Love's got that, he goes through reads, and with his arm, he'd be tough to stop. Many quarterbacks would be tough to stop in that situation.
Right. So you've talked. You're a little worried about the Packers pass rush. Maybe this could help us out. I don't know if you saw, but Jahmyr Gibbs, on accident, he posted a picture on social media of one of his friends, and there's a whiteboard in the background, and it's got, I don't know if it was play calls, but it had a bunch of lingo. So I'm assuming it's in the running back room or, the offensive room or whatever. Should we try to use those plays? Should we see if we can, try to decode some of that lingo? Maybe that could help us out on Thursday tomorrow.
Well, I also saw a quote. I some check down numbers or whatever. But I saw a quote from their coach saying, any team that would use this, or he was discounting it, saying, but I mean, I don't know. It could have been disinformation too.
But I don't know. Campbell seemed pretty pissed because they asked him about it in a press conference.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they asked him about it. He's like, "Oh, I didn't even know about that." And then he ended the press conference and walked out. So he's like, "I got to go handle that." So,
okay.
But Campbell was Campbell's doubting people who might use them. He said it's not going to help you out, kind of thing.
I would probably think they would have changed something on it. I don't know enough about it, but
what if they kept it the same because everyone thinks they're going to change it? And then
I mean, you can't align your team based on
half a whiteboard,
some reads. Again, might have been disinformation too, like a spy would use. But
Jahmyr Gibbs is planting a false flag here for us, I guess. Could be.
No, I want to see the Packers go in without any codes, without anything, and try and see how they stack up. I'm very curious on this game. They're going to make the playoffs. That's what's beautiful. Your team can improve. I'm almost of the opinion you don't need to be pulling out trick plays. You don't be, we're almost assuredly going to be a wild card. It'd be
Detroit
very
will
tough.
pull out some trick plays, I think.
Well, I mean,
They love those.
the reason I say that is save that for the playoffs. I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to be in. I don't want to see guys hurt. I want to see how they stack up. Here's what I want to watch. And I saw this in the first game. Every time Detroit needed this, and they didn't overly use this. That's the beauty of that team. They got, so many weapons. They ran the ball behind whenever they ran the ball behind Penny Sewell, you watch this. They blew the Packers off the line. That running back would get 6-7 yards right off the bat. It was a guaranteed 5 yards, maybe more. Tom Brady brought up a great point, and he doesn't bring up a lot of good points. He just sits there with that
Not a fan of him as
goddamn
a
perfect
commentator.
smile. Oh, I owe Julie one. Okay. It's a first one. But he sits there with that smile and really these innocuous
What was the smart thing he said, though?
He's the only guy. There's only one guy worse than him, and that's Garrett. That guy is terrible.
I did
God,
not
Jason
enjoy.
Garrett.
I was really upset when I noticed that he was the Thanksgiving game commentator.
Oh,
I'm
good
like,
God, you get nothing.
Why, Garrett?
You get nothing, and
He's
just
so
repeats what the
monotone.
other announcer says. It's just ridiculous. But
At least
Brady
Collinsworth will throw some jokes in there, right?
But Brady brought up a point when the Packers play. Every time they run behind Penny Sewell, you get 2 to 3 yards before anybody hits you. Ooh. Watch this guy. He wipes out linebackers, tackles. He's remarkable. And the guy next to him is pretty damn good too. I can't think of his name, but
the other O lineman, I forget.
I want to see how the Packers stop that. The Packers been I don't know how they've stacked up in the running game. I suppose I should look that up. I think it's been pretty decent. They bend but don't break against the running teams, but you've got to have a pass rush on that team.
Yeah.
And they've got nothing. And if you've got a blitz, Goff, again, I was downplaying him or just calling him decent, ordinary to decent.
Yeah.
One thing he's good at, he knows when you're blitzing, he's good at that, picking it up and dissecting it. He's been around the league enough years, and he can beat you with that. And I want to see what they do, what they come up with. You got to stymie that team somehow, and you've got to control the ball on offense a lot better than they did. No mistakes. You got to go up and down the field for this reason and this reason, most importantly. Not even to score points. You got to keep their juggernaut offense off the field and on the back. Yeah. And you got to eat up minutes and minutes and minutes. And there's no
room tire out your defense,
like they did last year, and that win at Detroit. So
give Jacobs the rock. Their team is their defense especially is banged up. But let's get to it. Give me your Thursday night football pick. Packers are going to Detroit at the Lions. Lions are 3.5-point favorites.
I don't bet football during the regular season. I do bet it. I go up to the casino during the playoffs. I love betting playoff football, future kind of stuff. But I don't bet it. But if I was a betting man on pro football anymore, no, I mean I stick to horse racing. I'm not.
That's fair. That's fair. If you were a betting man, though, who
the Packers? The Packers would be the pick. I would take 3.5. I think they are trending toward a maximum effort, or what I think will be a maximum effort. Is it good enough to beat Detroit? I think they have a shot, and I would take the points certainly.
Would you take a money line?
Yeah, actually, I would. I don't know what it is. I'd imagine you'd probably get $1.50 back.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know, because you were kind of telling me they give the home team 2.5 points usually.
Typically, that's home team's worth 2.5 points. They're calling us a pick'em game,
right. So at a neutral site, it's lines -1 basically.
Yeah, it'd be 1 to 2 points. Yeah, with the injuries Detroit has, Now that's based on what the betting public is going to do, and I think people are starting to come around on the Packers. I'm not saying that's any. This isn't like a lock or my etch it in stone picks. I'll be giving those out for the playoffs, but I like them this week. I would lean towards them this week. But these games you come to find out they all come down to like a single play or one score games, and I love that. That's the beauty of this league. There's no leaving guys out. Well, I shouldn't say that. Guys getting draft picks at the end. we'll see. The last couple of games, it's usually can be bad, but I'd almost like to see that lottery ball system so teams didn't do that like the
Yeah.
NBA uses.
Yeah, well, speaking of draft picks, I was wondering, would you like to do a new segment with me presented by no one?
Yeah, I will. I have a fan club with the same name. Go ahead.
So this new segment is called All Time Packers. Shout out my sister Anna. She gave me the idea for this one. But basically, since we're both such big fantasy football fans, I wanted an all-time fantasy team of Packers. So anyone to basically anyone to put on the Packers uniform, and you give me the fantasy lineup. So quarterback, two running backs, two receivers, tight end, flex, and we can even do a defense and a kicker in there too. So
I will
I
even
want
give
I want
you
your draft pick. I want to hear the greatest fantasy team, the Packers,
the first.
all-time Packers.
Absolutely. And the very first fantasy guy that I would put on there is the Alabama Antelope. You
Yes.
know who that is?
That's I think you told me yesterday. That's Don Hudson, right?
That is Don Hudson. Don Hudson dominated the sport.
Yeah.
And I mean, he dominated in the 40s and he was 30s, 40s. His records were so far above the league. If they had fantasy football, then he would be the number one pick, and that would be the end of the league because he scored the most touchdowns.
He just win every game.
This was when teams ran the ball. That some teams threw it. Like Washington, I threw it a bit, but Hudson dominated. First unanimous, I believe, he's the first unanimous pick for the Hall of Fame.
Oh wow. Well, so
like,
here's my question with Don. What position are we putting at? Because
he's
he
wide
played
receiver.
He played a couple of decisions though, right?
He's wide receiver because of the touchdowns. Now, again, ranking the eras, number 2 is James Lofton. And people would probably yell at me and would say, what about Sterling Sharp? What about Devontae Adams?
Yeah.
Well, James Lofton scored touchdowns when you didn't have the pinball type scoring that you have now. You know, guys throwing all over the place. It was tough to get a touchdown. He was a great athlete. He lasted a long time. People don't remember he was on the early Buffalo Super Bowl teams. You know, or the ones during that run.
The 0-4 Bills, right?
Yes, he was on at least 2 of those teams.
Okay, sure.
And he was a great athlete, a Stanford man, just a phenomenal track athlete. I mean, and again, rating the times that they played, had they had fantasy football then, he was a stud. He was a Jerry Rice of his time.
I love that.
Close to, maybe not Jerry Rice, but Don Hudson was a Jerry Rice even more so. He would have scored more fantasy football points and been more dominant fantasy-wise in his era than Rice was in his.
Oh wow. Okay. So we got our 2 starting wide receivers. Who's your third round draft pick? All-time Packers fantasy team.
If I'm going with the running backs, I got to go Paul Hornung. He is the stud for fantasy. And you know why? I'm going to throw this back to you. Why would the Golden Boy be the stud? By the way, Lombardi's favorite player of all time, ironically enough, for the stodgy Lombardi, he loved Paul Hornung, the Golden Boy, who was a notorious playboy and running and drinking all night and a carouser. And Lombardi loved him, was his favorite player.
But Lombardi didn't usually let that slide, but he let it slide because he was that good.
Lombardi treated different players a little bit different, you know, and he knew how to get on guys and ride guys. He also knew what guys to ease off on, and you know, many famous quotes and stories. Many players, Tomlin's like that. He can be harsh on guys at times, but also very, you know, players love him, just love him, swear by him. Where he's great during tough times, and yet, you know, everybody up here, next man up mentality. Lombardi was a guy that could be really brutal on the players at times, but a soft heart at times, but also treated players differently. That was noted.
Yeah. What was your question about Paul Hornung? I don't know.
Why would you pick him as a fantasy must and superstar? Why?
That's such a That's a tough
Think
question.
about it.
I didn't watch much Paul Horning, but I know he's a legend.
Oh my God, he is on the all-time list. You would have him as your number one halfback. Why?
Why? I don't know. I need to. I
I
don't
will.
have an
That's
answer.
why I'm here, Matt. I am here to educate. Paul Horning kicked field goals. Paul
Oh,
Horning
okay.
kicked extra points. Paul Horning won the Heisman Trophy as a quarterback at Notre Dame. He threw passes.
Oh, okay. I
passes.
was confusing Don and him. Paul's the guy that played all the positions.
Yes, in the
Okay, got
60s,
it.
the Golden Boy.
Got
No,
it. Got it. Okay, he's
Paul
the third
Hornung
round
was
pick.
he was a fantasy. You would be drawn to him as I mean, he was the ultimate fantasy player. Nobody could,
Yeah.
passing, receiving, running, and kicking.
Yeah.
He was a 5-weapon fantasy man. Paul Horning.
Amazing.
Easiest pick you had when you said fantasy.
Yeah, it's like when Taysom Hill would start a game at quarterback, we put him in the tight end slot. You get a few extra there.
Yeah.
But he's your third round pick. We got some more positions to fill out. Who's the fourth round pick? We still need a quarterback.
Well, he would have been my first
end.
pick. He would have been my first pick.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were starting with wide receivers.
Oh no, I just
he would be number one. He's probably he probably would rank as the greatest fantasy player of all time because of what he could do.
Okay.
With the kicking, Sammy Baugh also, he could punt, but he didn't kick field goals. George Blandford time was a quarterback and kicked too.
Yeah.
But he couldn't run or put up the touchdown numbers. Like one year, Paul Horning scored 176 points.
Oh, geez.
Think about that.
Goodness.
That was in an era where teams didn't score again like they do today. Anyway, let's get on to the next pick. The next pick.
Quick math.
28
touchdowns.
Yeah, the next pick would be probably Jim Taylor, I would think. Or, you'd go to the receivers. But I'm going to get away from the receivers and tell you about another running back. Jim Taylor from LSU was a tough-nosed fullback with the Packers. That's when they had a fullback that would typically be a little closer to the line of scrimmage, but he was the goal line guy.
So you're gonna put a fullback at starting running back?
Well, he scored a lot of TDs. I'm going position by position. I thought that's what you were looking for.
I'm doing fantasy roster. So quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers.
Those would be the 2 running backs. John Brockington was great for 3 seasons. I'm also counting longevity in there too. Yeah. Taylor was longer than Brockington. Brockington for 3 years was 1,000 plus. They ran him to death. And he was a fullback, and he was, this is when they had fullbacks. I shouldn't even bring that term up with you. You younger folks, it's no longer used. It's a halfback now, and that's it. But he was great until they ran him to the ground. He got injured and never was the same.
Sure.
But let me just think.
But Jim Taylor's a running back? Okay. Yeah, we still need a quarterback, a tight end.
The tight end that they had, again, for his era, would have been Ron Kramer, because he could catch and block like Mike Ditka, early 60s. And they traded him away, and he was still all pro with other teams. But the guy that, and this was in the era of the late 70s, or it was early 80s, and his name was Paul Kaufman. And he was on a team where Lynn Dickey was the quarterback. And Lynn Dickey had an arm, great arm. He could throw. And the Packers had Lofton, John Jefferson at a point later, but it was Lofton and Kaufman, and they could run the ball. They had running backs, so pretty good. I can't remember their names right now. I could, but it would take me a bit. But Kaufman put up numbers for a tight end, and he made a couple of what are they? The games, the Pro Bowl games. I don't think he was ever all pro, but he put up numbers. I mean, and he was a good running tight end that could, it's almost like an extra wide receiver, tall and had good hands, and Kansas boy, as I recall. But
okay. All right, we got two more positions to fill in here. We got a flex and a quarterback. I can't believe we haven't gotten a quarterback picked yet.
Well, quarterback was tough, but I mulled it over, and
you're giving yourself some time to think about that.
The quarterback, I'd still probably have to come back to Favre, because he could light up big games. I mean, Rodgers would keep it. He didn't need to throw for 300. If you're looking at that, and Favre early on, people forget.
Right. If you're looking at a fantasy score, I guess that makes more sense to go.
Yeah, just from a fantasy, the best quarterback of all 3 of those was Bart Starr, and he was more of a manager. He was not. He had nothing like the arms those guys had, but he was a tremendously disciplined guy. He managed a team of stars, and he just remarkable. Think about what Bart Starr did. I don't think either Favre or Aaron Rodgers could have done in the Ice Bowl. The wind is whipping. It's 16 below. You're trailing by 3 points.
Yep.
You've got the ball, and you've got about 70 yards to go, and you got a minute and a half. The wind puts it at about 60 below. We heard some reports.
60
to at least 40, 39, 40 below. But some points of that game was 60, and he had to leave a drive. He had to lead a drive down, and it was do or die. And on that drive, they get a holding penalty. Holding wasn't 10 yards in those days. It was 15 yards. They started 1st and 25 after their first down.
Oh, wow.
He hit his running backs because the linebackers couldn't get traction. The backs could. And 2 of those, swing passes got them that first down. That was the most important part of that. Then he connected on short passes. He connected on an inside trap play. It was a brilliant call from the 11 where they trapped the great Bob Lilly, arguably the best tackle in pro football history, and got to the 3. They got to the 1. 2 running backs slipped, and then finally he carried the ball himself over that goal line. Either of those 2 quarterbacks, I will say, could never have done what he did in that situation. And he led them to 6, 7 championships, 2 Super Bowls. Bart Starr is the greatest quarterback that ever played. Fantasy-wise, I would take Favre because win or lose, he was going to gunsling. Rodgers was afraid of interceptions.
Wait, did you say Bart Starr is the greatest quarterback ever?
Yes.
Like better than Tom Brady?
No, I would say the greatest Packer.
Greatest Packer. Okay, yeah, okay. I wanted to make sure I had that
unequivocally
right.
will say that, and I know people would fire. He had nothing like the cannons that the other 2 had. Rodgers, the most accurate thrower I ever saw. Beautiful ball. Marino had a beautiful ball too. No one was as sharp as Rodgers. He was his own worst enemy at the end. I think we're coming now. Anyway, he made football good for me on Sundays. I love the guy. I was rooting for him this year. Still root for the guy, but I just see what's become of him and what he's so self-absorbed.
Watching Jets games makes me sad now.
It's off the field too. He's so self-absorbed.
Are you gonna watch the new documentary on? There's a new Netflix documentary about him called Enigma. It looks kind of, I don't know. You get to see him do ayahuasca. It might be fun.
But... that stuff doesn't bother me. It's a journey, a self journey. That stuff I have no problem. It's the stuff about the vaccines, coming on McAfee to get his own little platform, and that dope.
Aaron Rodgers Tuesday
questions. Oh my God! It's that nothing wants to make me puke more than when I first saw that. I just. And then to have to read about it the next day he was on. He said that's what gave McAfee his traction to get in. Now he's a so-called expert. Oh my God.
That's a good theory. I like that. Okay, last pick of the draft here. Give me a flex. So you can go running back, receiver, or tight end here.
Yeah, it's Sterling Sharp in his prime.
Yeah, I like it.
In that era. Remember, in that era. Sharp was phenomenal. He was strong. His brother, who was a Hall of Famer, would say my older brother was better player, and he was great. And that was too bad that his career was cut short, but he was beautiful to watch. He was a great player, great athlete.
I think that was the quote from Shan. He's like, I'm a Hall of Famer, and I'm not even the best player in my own family. So I love that.
And he was a great player in his own right. A remarkable tight end. Now I got a quick trivia question for you.
Okay.
There is only one football player and baseball player who is in the Hall of Fame for both. And he was a Green Bay Packer. Who is he?
It's not Deion Sanders. It's not Deion Sanders.
No.
Is it
football and baseball?
Not Deion.
No, not Deion Sanders.
Well, it's not Bo Jackson because his career got cut.
No, that would be everyone's obvious guess. Just thinking that maybe he made.
Do I know this guy?
No.
Should I?
No, you won't know. Oh, okay. In the 30s in football, he was a lineman named Cal Hubbard.
Okay.
He was a tackle. And I knew this when I was a kid because I've read this on him.
He played O-line and first base?
No. Then he went on in the late 40s and 50s, I believe, 60s maybe. he became an umpire. And then the later
Oh.
director of umpires. He was that good. And he
Oh.
was voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh, so he made
Hubbard.
the Hall of Fame as an ump.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay,
So whenever
that's
you get that trivia question, it was
yeah.
always one that I liked. Somebody
Hubbard. I
tried
already
to
forgot his
catch me on
name.
that one time. They gave me 2 questions. They said, "You think you're a Packer fan?" Gave me that one I got. And the other one was, "What position did Booth Lustig play?"
D-line.
He was a kicker. He lasted about 3 games. One of those seasons they went through 10 kickers.
Wait, what was the name of the guy, the
Cal
umpire?
Hubbard.
Cal Hubbard. Okay, I gotta remember that for the trivia.
Yeah,
Should
pretty
we
remarkable player.
should we draft a defense and a kicker here? Are you putting Paul Horton at kicker?
One of the 62 Packer or the 61? Oh boy. The one that held the Giants to 7 points in Yankee Stadium when they beat them. Or was that the 31? That's the best defense. That Packer defense was
The
stodgy.
1931, you said?
No, 61 Packers.
Oh, 61, 61.
The one that beat the Giants there in, I want to say it was in Yankee Stadium, 16-7. Or was it? Yeah. Or third.
Who's the kicker then? Is it Paul or someone else?
The best kicker, in my opinion, is and I'm going to go with Crosby. I just because of the big kicks he made. There were kickers. Jerry Kramer kicked their offensive.
That's the only Packer on here I've actually been able to watch play.
Don Chandler was a solid kicker, although Chandler was given credit for the famous 64 kick that was really no good. That sent him into overtime in the championship game against Baltimore, which they won. It was
a bad call.
It was to tie the game with a couple of seconds left. It was wide right. It was called good. They had pictures. I'm not saying it was wide right. They had pictures in the Baltimore papers the next day from behind. And it looked like the ball went wide. Many players said it was.
Yeah.
But you don't know. It might have gone over the goalpost or just inside and drifted. And they won in overtime. They drove down and kicked the field goal. And then they went on to win the championship, I believe.
Sure. But
I think that was against Cleveland, but I can't recall right off the top. I have to juggle my head a little bit now. So those are your trivia. That's the trivia. Best defense and best returner, Desmond Howard.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I mean,
without a doubt,
returner. Yeah,
he was so crucial. I was down there for that Super Bowl and
MVP.
Yeah, he deserved it. He turned that game around. As Bill Parcells said later, it was Desmond Howard, and he was pissed. They lost by 14 points, but Packers outplayed them for the most part, but it wasn't they were able to run the ball in the Packers, and they were in that game because they were well coached. That was a good, well-coached team. And Packers had a juggernaut and, a great team, and they needed every bit of it. They needed their late season pick or their extra pickups. Desmond Howard and Andre Rison, who scored the first touchdown of the game, might have been his only catch of the game. Right off the bat, he hit a bomb to him to go up 7-0. And he was a late season pickup. You need a general manager that's doing that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's a wonderful time running around the streets in New Orleans. I'll never forget that. I went down there. I wasn't actually at the game, but I went down there, and friends of mine, got me into a lot of the NFL parties and stuff, and it was wonderful. They went to the game, and I watched at a bar on Toulouse Street. And that weekend, oh no, not that weekend, it was a different weekend. It was the weekend I met Paul Hornung. And Max McGee on a Wednesday, the year the Rams upset St. Louis. I was down there on a Wednesday in New Orleans. I was on Toulouse Street and walked into a bar. There was a sports writer. We were jawing about horse racing. They had horse racing on from from Louisiana. And we were the only people in there. They had those French doors that open up like into the street.
Yeah.
Coolest little place. Nobody else in the joint. I swear to God, in this horseshoe type bar, 2 of us. And in walks 2 more. Max McGee and the Golden Boy. And I worked up the coverage. I had enough drinks in me. I told this guy used to cover. He had been a sports writer in Long Island, New York, at a newspaper that's now defunct. But he had gone to every Super Bowl they sent him for years. And when they took him off the sports beat and put him on business, he continued to do it. He'd only missed one. And he said, I go every year. And he was an older guy. He was retired. And his last name was Poe, P-O-E. You could look him up. I can't remember the paper, the Long Island paper, but he was a member of the Poe Society, he was telling me, distant relatives of Edgar Allan Poe. But anyway, we were talking literature, different things. This guy, I said to him, hey, that's the Golden Boy. And I said, I think that's Max McKeown, because that is Horning. This guy had interviewed Horning years back, not for the Super Bowl, but for sports. I said, I'm going over there. And I went over and I had a question of mine, because it was right after the book on Lombardi had come out by David Moranis.
Okay.
And I said, there are a question I got to ask. I said, Jerry Kramer's book, it opens with Lombardi crying, and Kramer asks him, why are you crying? I had to let Paul go, meaning Paul, he had to put him in the draft. New Orleans picked him. They did it to sell tickets. He was injured. I don't think he even played. But Lombardi was crying. Well, David Moranis, in the Lombardi biography that was, big bestseller in 2001, he wrote that they knew it was all set up for Horning to go there. Rozelle had kind of set it up, the commissioner. New Orleans was a new franchise. They needed to sell tickets.
Yeah.
Paul Horning was a legend down there, and he played at Louisville, close enough, in college.
Sure.
Oh, no, he was from Louisville, and he played at Notre Dame, but he was a legend down south. And this is when you had to get, football wasn't all around,
Right.
It's going to new franchises and everything. So it was said, it was allowed for him to be on waivers. He wasn't playing with the Packers at that point. He was old, and they picked him. So it was all set up. And so that thing about him crying was kind of, but I asked about that. I said, here, and Max McGee was pissed that I was interfering with them.
Oh,
I could tell right off the bat, but I didn't care. I had a couple of beers in me. And I said, I'm from Wisconsin. And he took the time and he said, no, it was set up. He said, for me to go down there. I said, hey, I'm a lifelong, Packer fan. I live in Manitowoc. And he was talking about Manitowoc and some other things. And I leave, I go back, and I had a cell phone. A lot of people didn't automatically have cell phones. My company had given me one,
Sure.
It was kind of maybe a bigger one or something. It was 2001. Maybe they were smaller, but I remember I wanted to text somebody or take a picture. And this guy had joined me while I was in conversation. And he told Horning, I covered you in the early 60s for Newsday was the name of the paper.
There you go.
Look this guy up, Poe. You can find him. And then we went back over. And we were both bubbling. And this guy, a former sport, he was like, I can't believe Paul Horning's at, and Max McKee, who was, a local legend, arguably should have been MVP of Super Bowl I. But two ex-carousers and Max McGee, by the way, started the Chi-Chi's franchise, which made him
the Chiefs?
Chi-Chi's, the Mexican restaurant. He started that franchise.
Oh, I've heard of Chi-Chi's. Sounds good.
You knew that.
It sounds good.
Died in his 70s or early 80s, going on his roof to fix a roof, fell off and died.
Oh,
he was the announcer, Packer announcer.
Oh, Lord.
That's why I don't do any work. You won't see me doing any work.
Don't get up on the roof, King.
Anything, pulling docks in, anything. I could be hit by a dock or flying.
That's for the peasants, not for the king.
No, you got it, Matthew. I love it. Those serfs can do it, but not me. No, we have many people that chip in. I love it.
Yeah, but I love it. Thanks for
any roofs, or is it roofs? No, it's roofs. Any roof, you wouldn't catch me up on any roof. But so that day, I got to tell you. So we go back to our seats, and I start trying to call a friend of mine. I'm keeping the phone low because I don't want them thinking I'm calling people to come to the bar. I'm not. I'm down there early. My friends are joining me. I'm down there on a Wednesday, and the press is just coming in. They're not yet arrived,
Mm-hmm.
And so you could walk the streets. It would get, madhouse. And New Orleans is built for the Super Bowl. It should be there every year. It's got this area, the French Quarter, close enough to the stadium to walk, but that can handle this inflow of people. And you don't have to go from spot to spot where they're having different things and drive and worry about cars. You're just in the quarter and everything. It's one big party. It should be every year there. But
Bourbon
anyway,
Street.
I digress. Let's go back. So they must have seen me. And Max McGee was visibly, pissed. And, he just was to the side, I come down here for a drink with my friend. I got these two jackasses
Yeah.
main jackass who brings Jackass 2 in, and they're bugging Paul Horning. Horning was gracious, and in retrospect, maybe I could have done this a little better, but I had a question. It was, I got him engaged.
Yeah.
And I kept them for maybe 5 minutes. They out the door, and I was
We got
bummed.
to get out of
And
here.
I left two of us. I mean,
You
there was
scared them
those
off.
those bars would have 1,000 once game time or the day before.
Yeah.
There were two people in it, me and him, and then two. That's
Wow.
how sparse it was. That's like the Wednesday. It's like, but it's daytime.
But they were probably pissed. They're like, we found the one empty
was
bar
pissed.
and people recognized us.
That's exactly what happened. And they were probably reliving like certain times down there and just walking. And I kind of ruined that, but I don't care.
That's all right. You got to say hi to the golden boy. But
Absolutely.
thanks for doing the new segment with me. I think you drafted a pretty damn good fantasy team. You got quarterback Brett Favre, running back Paul Horning, running back Jim Taylor, receiver Don Hudson.
He's the goal line guy, so he doesn't, just in case, because I would hate for him to get the 1 yard plunges. And what do they call that? Not albatross. You steal there's a bird name for it. Vulture.
Yeah, he vultured the touchdowns. Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Don Hudson, James Lofton, Ron Kramer, Sterling Sharp, the 1961 defense. Mason Crosby is the most surprising pick to me there. I thought
kicks. Clutch kicks.
Yeah, you're right.
That trumps any kind of production and 75% kickers. That guy, when the money was on the line, I'll never forget Dallas. I'll never forget one that goes unnoticed was the 40-something yard kick he made against Seattle after they had rallied to take the lead on us, a game we dominated. And Rodgers drove us down, and he made a 40-something yard kick with that crowd going and sent it in overtime, which we lost the coin flip and ultimately the game. But
that game makes me sick.
He was money. And I'm hopefully this McManus continues that, tradition.
Yeah, he's been solid. But yeah, we could talk Packers all day, but I just got a couple more questions for you here. Thanks again for coming on. Let's move south from Green Bay to Milwaukee, maybe talk a little Bucks basketball. But before that, I wanted to get your thoughts on the NBA in general. What are your thoughts on the NBA Cup? Do you like it? You think it's pointless? What, like, I figured you would have a take on a mid-season tournament like this,
I do have a take. I've got a couple of takes. Matt, I went into it with a good attitude because like I've told you in the past, I'm one of these guys that was down on the putting the 30-second clock in a college or, before they had the shot clock. I liked it. I was the guy that hated the 3-pointer in the NBA until it came, it changed the game for a lot of younger fans. It made it exciting.
Yeah.
So I was open to it last year. The Bucks did well in it, and yet, I never knew what was going on, and it never
can't beat my Lakers in NBA Cup. No chance.
Yeah, and here's
this
the
year,
thing.
Though, maybe.
I applaud that the commissioner for trying to do something because that NBA season, he wanted to do something. It's never going to happen. The owners are never going to give up games. It's like 20 games too long. And this bullshit where you go to a game and I don't have kids, but if I brought my kids and they want to see the local superstar or the team coming in with the superstar and they're sitting these guys, that season's too long. I don't start watching till the playoffs.
Same.
I thought this would be something that would excite me. I'm not. It's a reach for money. It's a reach to improve to improve their regular season. They need something else, and it's shortening is the response to that.
Yeah, I agree with you though. Silver's been a great commissioner. He's actually I don't know why, but something about the NBA Cup when I see a blue court, I'm like, this is kind of cool. I don't know. You see a different court, and it just,
let me ask you.
Draws me in a little bit.
Well, let me ask you, Matt. What do you think, and what do your friends think? I guess around your friends that are sports fans. What do they think about it? I got to ask. That's a good one for me to ask Dylan.
Yeah, I don't know. I think most of them don't care, but I think everyone kind of agrees it's at least more fun than like a regular season game. I don't know. I was starting to care a lot about it because the Lakers were defending their NBA Cup title, but I think we just got eliminated, so I don't care about it anymore. But
wait, the Bucks got eliminated?
No. My Lakers. I'm not a
Oh, the
Bucks fan.
Lakers did. Okay, because
Yeah, so
I thought
no
I read
Bucks.
the Bucks had
Bucks, I
won.
think we're gonna see in Vegas for the finals there. But here's my last
The
question for
Bucks
you.
made the finals in it.
I don't know.
Oh
I
yeah,
think they could be
but
going
see,
to
that's
Vegas,
my
but
point. I don't think people are glued to it. Like,
no, they're not.
but it's a good try. I
Yeah,
like them, but I'd love to have 12 to 20 games minimally, 12 minimally chopped off. Make
yeah.
it, what is it, makes it a 60 game season, and then try and get it down to 50. I mean, these games are just, it's pointless watching some of these blowouts.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just got one last question for you. Thanks again for coming on. This last question, I phrased it sort of combatively, so you can correct me if I'm wrong on the phrasing of this question, but I was going to ask, why are you giving up on the Milwaukee Bucks, or are you not?
This is I'm okay. I'll need a couple of minutes here.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
have some good friends, and I'm shouting us out to Chris Surgis, especially, who is probably the best Bucks fan I know. He's had season tickets from the bad years. He sat through. He told me about a visit when he had gotten to the point where season ticket holders. I want to guess if he tells the story. I'd love to. He's another guy to bring on NBA.
Yeah,
but he would tell about how he was brought out as a season ticket holder, and he had the question to, I can't remember the GM's name. Was it Horst or one of the older, the guy that was there at the time? He asked him, who is this guy Giannis that they had drafted? Is this guy, worth this pick? And,
who's this skinny Greek guy?
he was upset about the pick, I think, if I remember Chris, who loves him, and obviously has been with the team. Chris has ridden with them through some dark years. And
Middleton didn't like the pick? Or
it's
your
way
friend
before Middleton. Yeah. He
okay.
was years in development. It took a couple of years with Giannis. I don't think he went right to the team, but Chris has great stories, but I have sent out stuff to Chris. He made a post on Facebook when the Bucks were like 1-7 or whatever. And it was to the effect of, and I'm really upset about the Dame trade, but I understand why they had to do it. Giannis was not going to sit around. They had to do something, and they engineered this, and the Trailblazers caught, in my opinion, a desperate team and got a ton of luggage in exchange for this player. They got a couple of players, most notably
Robert Williams.
No, the guy that went to Boston.
Rip Williams used to play on Boston. I think he's on Portland now.
No, the guy that was on the Bucks championship team.
Oh, Drew Holiday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Holiday gets shipped
him to Boston. Yeah.
How they got him and all these draft picks, all this baggage with him, I just alarming to me. But that's easy to say in retrospect. I wasn't, people wouldn't believe me, but I wasn't thrilled about the move. And they got this huge contract, and now they're stuck. My point to Chris was, hey, just play it out professionally. You got Rivers in here. He'll keep it professional, run through the season, and, look for a team that's desperate, that wants to make a move. We've got assets.
Yeah.
Someone that's desperate to make a move, like we did.
You could ship them to the Lakers. We'll take them.
Well, maybe they get, I think they're a little, their fans are a little,
We'll give you
they've seen
D'Angelo
that
Russell in a second.
and they're a little bit hesitant. But I'm just saying, I can't see the Bucks ever getting to a championship level with Lillard, and because you can't bring in, top guys.
Yeah.
Maybe they get to, but do you? And I asked this to NBA expert Luke Maurer. Yeah. And Luke said, if they get rid of Giannis or any of the, I'm never going to games. And I think a lot of people are like that. So
they can't trade Giannis. They can't trade Giannis.
I know you say that.
They can't.
Not now, but
that's blowing it up. That's
Matt,
rebuild.
I'm trying to be a realist here. Okay. I understand that he's the biggest draw and he's playing so great. And he's just a warrior out there. He's a great player. And he brought us a championship. I sent a post to Chris. I said, he brought us a championship. Let's be happy for it. We probably should have got a second one, but we had some injuries. But this guy got us a championship. Let's show the assets, see what we can do. If we have to rebuild, he may have to go. They're never going to get that team. In my humble opinion, I want your opinion in a second. Let me just get done spouting my 5-minute diatribe. That I will tell you that team, it may have some peaks. It may be able to play with Boston in one game. That might, be able to play with OKC on a certain night. They're not going to win a series over any of those teams, not to mention some of the lesser teams. They're beating up on the Detroits of the world right now and getting the record. But that team, and they're old with, everybody but basically Giannis. He's late 20s now, but he may be at the point where you could get a lot for him and turn.
Definitely could, yeah.
I'm just being a realist. Or do you live with we make the playoffs? We're the 6th seed, 7th seed, 8th seed, whatever it is, and win a series here. Well, the Bucks did that for many years, where they were like 4th seed, 3, for years with, in the 70s and stuff, and or 70s, 80s, I should say, and early 90s, certain teams. Okay, I can live with that too, but you're never going to make it. And I know that in the back of my mind. You're never going to win the championship. I don't know, unless you draft some guy that's just becomes and you're able to fit him in. I don't know. But
that's fair.
Anyway,
you had a question for me, you said?
Now you get 20 seconds.
Oh, I get 20 seconds. I don't know.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I would disagree with you to an extent, just because we haven't seen Giannis, Middleton, and Dame kind of all healthy at once. If those three can get healthy at the same time, like we didn't get they lost to the Pacers, but it was a close series when they had, injuries to their top 3 guys, and
that's a good
one
point.
of them was hurt every game. So I don't know. I don't think they can beat Boston, but I think they can beat any other team in the East if those 3 guys are healthy.
If that is true, definitely you'd keep them together, and I don't think they're anywhere near that level. But
right,
I tell you, I respect your opinion. You bring up a good point. The 3 of them haven't played together. In that,
that's what I think. You got it. Like, you could trade Dame. You'd get a big return for Dame. Obviously,
who would you trade? Who would take him?
Maybe Dame doesn't have that great of value, but obviously Giannis, you get a lot. But no, I think you gotta play it out and hope they stay healthy, so you can at least see them if they can gel in the playoffs. But I don't know. I don't totally disagree with you here.
You brought up good points there, Matt. I will tell you, my friends are of the same vein, and I didn't want to bring up trading Giannis. It's the trade that dare not speak its name. It's there.
You're gonna get some angry phone calls after this.
Yes, and I would never post that. I just said in my post to my friend, hey, keep the assets, keep it professional, and wait for somebody to get desperate, just like we did. Yeah. And that's what it would take, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear D Watts's. What do your friends say? Do you have feedback from them?
I think they're a little skeptical, but I think I don't know. I think they believe.
Would they abandon the team if Giannis was?
Oh, would they abandon?
Luke Maurer told me unequivocally I won't go see another game, or I can't remember what he said, but
a lot of them are totally diehard, so I think a lot of them would stay. But no, I see what Luke's saying. Like, you trade Giannis, you're just giving up. So I'd be pretty.
Well, you're kind of starting over, yes. Too. But you asked me, what I thought of the Bucks situation. That's my honest assessment. Yeah. And I may be wrong. I'm not an NBA expert, but you asked me what I can stand and can't stand, and I cut the season. Bucks, I was thrilled. They won a championship. It is so hard to do when you get it in Wisconsin. Savor it for 5 years, 10 years. Everybody wants another one right away.
Yeah.
These are hard to come by. There's 32 of these teams in each of these leagues. It's like, God, the Brewers making the pay. Did you see they came out with the salary things the other day on the
what are we at?
We are 1/5 to 1/6 of the Mets or the Yankees, either one of those teams, or the Dodgers.
So what? They got 300 mil, and we have what?
They have payrolls of let's say 1.2 4 billion.
Oh,
And
billion, right.
we're at 300 million or 250.
Oh, geez.
And we're not even the bottom of the league. We're like 5th or 6th from the bottom.
Yeah, that's like the Pirates or someone.
Yeah, and that's all because the baseball union was great. They got paid for their guys years back, but it also kills the competitiveness. You got to have some kind of, you can't get a salary cap, and that union is too strong. But,
Yeah.
and I'm pro-union. My father was a Teamster, but man, I tell you, it kills sports. It really does.
We'll have to talk unions at the round table.
No politics. I've had enough politics to last a lifetime in 3 months.
No kidding. No kidding. Well, but that's all I got for you, the King. Thanks again for joining me. And
my pleasure, Matt. I love this. You made my week month. I want back on. And I want some of my compadres on.
Yes.
You'll like these dudes. And they'd make for a good round table. And remember, when round tabling, you're dealing. And then pass the, what is the thing they use in poker? The thing.
The dealer chip, the small blind, the little blind.
Pass the blind. Yeah.
Yeah, pass the blind. Sure.
Pass it. Have the next guy start first and go around. Everybody deserves their time. 30 minutes on each subject from me. 25 to 40 seconds. Keep it with everyone else.
Oh, geez, I don't know if I have enough space on my laptop for all that. That's like a 24-hour long podcast.
No, I'll keep it. I'll keep it in line. And some of these guys will snap back wise on me. They know how to keep me in line sometimes. So, all right, it's been my pleasure. You have a great day.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, have a good one. Thank you so much for coming on. And you'll next time we see you, we'll be it'll be a round table. It'll be four of us probably, right?
Etch it in stone, my man. Etch it in stone.
All right. Thanks, King. I will I'll let you know when this is up.
Sounds good. Kirk out.
Thanks again to the King for joining me on the show. Always a great show when you're on. I'm sure this will be the most viewed episode yet since the Kentucky Derby preview with you there. But yeah, thanks again. Love to have you back on soon, and we will get that round table up and running, no matter how awkward I am. Let's do the Goosebump moments of the week. Everybody's favorite moment of the week. Damn, I got to get rid of these stupid catchphrases, but I can't help myself. Here are the Goosebump moments of the week. Starting off at number 10, we have Anthony Richardson leading a game-winning drive against the Patriots. He throws a touchdown on 4th and goal, and then he also runs in the game-winning 2-point conversion.
Watch them pick for Taylor to the flat. Richardson looking. Richardson end zone. It is caught for the Indianapolis touchdown. Alec Pierce able to squeeze it. Feels like this is his best chance right here. Going for 2 in the lead. Richardson pulls it back. Richardson bangs it in. And the Indianapolis Colts have taken the lead.
Number 9, Boopy Miller hits the game-winning bucket for SMU Hoops.
Gets downhill. Teardrop for the lead. He puts it in. 2 seconds left. Daniels heaves for the win. No good.
Number 8, I could literally not find an actual broadcast of this one, but here's Bryce Eaton hitting a buzzer beater for St. Peter's. Thank you for the iPhone footage on X. Number 7, Lenora Sellers with an insane touchdown run on 3rd and 16 as South Carolina knocks off Clemson.
There he goes! Lenora Sellers again to the end zone! He made it!
Number 6, Nate Biddle with a clutch putback dunk to win it for Oregon.
Missed it. Oh! The follow! Nate Biddle!
None greater than that offensive rebound. Almost a block there.
Number 5, Georgia beats Georgia Tech in 8 overtimes. Yes, 8 overtimes, 2-point conversion to win it for Georgia and make the playoffs probably.
Frazier straight ahead and straight in. Oh, it's great in 8. Georgia wins it.
Take
Number 4, Zach Austin hits a 3 at the death as Pitt beats OSU in Columbus.
Here is Jalen Lowe. It has been a career day. Zach Austin for the win.
Number 3, Josh Dix nails the buzzer beater for Iowa, no pun intended.
For the win. Oh my goodness. Fifth sack of the game.
Number 2, Jordan Moore with a spin move as he scores a walk-off touchdown for Duke to beat Wake Forest.
Time is ticking though. Launches it down the field for Moore. Puts it on the money for a touchdown. A walk-off for Duke. Malik Murphy, the hero today.
Number 1 moment of the week, Kendrick Nunn hits not 1, not 2, but 3 buzzer beaters in the same game for Panathinaikos in EuroLeague play. I don't know how to say it.
Top one, and he got that one as well. James. Oh, surely not! The surely not shot for the red hot Kendrick Nunn. You're kidding me.
Panathinaikos. Greek words are hard to pronounce, as Mr. Antetokounmpo knows. But yeah, that one, he didn't win the game. There was no game-winning buzzer beater, but hitting the first, second, and third quarter buzzer beaters, I mean, that's memorable. That's a Goosebump moment of the week. Is it number 1? Y'all can debate amongst yourselves. Leave an angry message in my comments if I got that wrong, but 3 buzzer beaters in one game is crazy. I don't know if that's ever been done, so I put it number 1 just for that. Shout out Panathinaikos Antetokounmpo. All right, let's finish the show here with our TNF pick, our Thursday night football pick. We have the Packers at the Lions. Lions are favored -3.5. My pick is going to be Packers plus 3.5. Yes, I'm wearing the Packers shirt. You know I'm picking the Packers. Close game against Detroit first time around. We kind of got dominated. The score was worse than it looked. But I don't know. I like the Packers here. I have a weird feeling our defense is going to keep balling, maybe shut down their explosive offense a bit. Plus, we have Jahmyr Gibbs. You know what? Give me Packers money line. We have Jahmyr Gibbs' plays. He posted it on the whiteboard. We got all the protection. The King said we're having trouble with the blitz, but we got those pass pros, all of those looks from Jahmyr Gibbs, so we'll be able to exploit that. So give me the Packers money line because in the words of Lions head coach Dan Campbell, and yes, he actually said this, doesn't matter if you have 1 ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.